Hello and welcome to this Oak Tree English video on the GCSE Creative Writing Element.
In this video, we will give the basic information and do's and don'ts that you need to excel in the creative writing element of the GCSE English language exam. In the Eduqas exam, this is Component 1, Part 2. It should also help anyone to write a coherent short story, and I've had some fun with some icons along the way. There are a few numbers which are crucial to understand when preparing for the exam. These are 1 of 4, 40 made up of 24 and 16, 45 of which 5, 35 and 5, 450 to 600 which is 1.5 to 2. Glad we've sorted that out, and now on to the next slide. What's that? You don't know what these numbers refer to? Well, I suppose I shall have to explain further. In the exam, you'll be given 4 titles. You must choose one of these. We'll look at what they are in the next slide. The next number is 40. That's 40 marks, which is what you're aiming to achieve. That is the maximum mark. And this consists of 24 marks for composition and organisation, which you get by writing an original, well-constructed and paragraphed story. The remaining 16 marks are for vocabulary, spelling, punctuation and grammar. Vostbag. And this is why you use famished rather than hungry, and include a small amount of well-punctuated reported speech. You have 1.5 hours for the whole exam. If you're wise, you'll split your time into 45 minutes for the reading element. You can see other videos for that. And 45 minutes for the writing. I would strongly recommend using 5 minutes to plan your writing before you start, and save 5 minutes to check your spag at the end. If writing this much in 35 minutes by hand is going to prove an issue, start practicing now. How much writing, you ask? You should aim to write 450 to 600 words, which works out to about 6 paragraphs or 1.5 to 2 sides of paper, depending on the size and neatness of your writing. Once again, if your handwriting is difficult to read, you should start practicing now, or become a doctor because doctors have notoriously difficult handwriting. I said that we would look at the 4 questions that you're likely to see. They will always be of the same type. You'll be given a title, something fairly universal which anyone can write about, like the best day ever, or a holiday adventure, or the day that everything changed. You'll be given a first sentence to work from, like I had no idea how this day would change my life, or it was a sunny day on the beach, or it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. But not that last one, or Charles Dickens will come back to claim royalties. The other option will be that you're given the last sentence, something like, and my parents never found out, or and I never saw him again, or we all got home safe and very tired. Finally, you could choose to write an anecdotal account. This will be phrased, write about a time you were very scared, or you were very happy, or you were very sad, or something unexpected happened. Now, the nice thing about these choices is that you can fit almost any story into them. So if you prepared the bones of a story in your mind before you go in, don't take it written on a piece of paper. Don't do that. But if you have one in your mind ready, you only need to tweak the beginning or the end of it very slightly to make it applicable, which is a good tactic. There are some do's and don'ts in the exam. I have a slide for each. If you want to know about the do's and don'ts of taking an exam, I believe that's at the beginning of the overall video for the whole GCSE. Let's look at some do's. This is something you should all do. What does this say? No, you pervert. It says keep it simple, students. You do not have the words or the time to waste by writing a complicated, multi-plot masterpiece. The exam is to write a short story, emphasis on short. So keep it simple. You should include a hook that makes people want to read on. This should come right at the beginning. Think of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that this world was being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man's. Bum, bum, bum. I sometimes use that version of War of the Worlds in my my GCSE class. However, that's another story. But yeah, think about that. That's a good hook. Makes you want to read on. You should employ the rule of ones, and this is all part of keeping it simple. You should aim to have no more than one protagonist, one antagonist, that's the main character, usually the hero, and the villain, or the person acting against them. And that one antagonist should create and solve but one problem in one setting. You are not writing Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. You're writing a short story. So minimize the ingredients to the rule of one. I've got a whole video on the ingredients of a story. I recommend it to you. You should keep it realistic. A story is much more readable if it's written from experience. So use the world which you live in and write of what you know. You don't have time to create a brand new world like Narnia. Keep that for when you write your novel. It should be action light. You're not writing Fast and Furious 95 or whatever ridiculous number they've got up to now. Please, very few explosions, terrorist attacks, car chases or plane crashes are required for a good short story. Human interest will be a better path to a passing grade. Make it original. I know there are only 7 stories. For more details, see my video on ingredients to a story. There are millions of permutations within each of those stories. If you can write from your own experience, you can keep it original. Finally, do make sure you check your work. Read through for spag, spelling, punctuation and grammar. Make sure every sentence is actually a sentence with a subject and a verb. Double check that you have included all the devices you want to, and that your story is just how you intended it to be. If there's a list of things to do, there's equally a list of things you should avoid. Here are the don'ts, which I appear to have neglected to animate. That was remiss of me. Don't base your dilemmas on teen dramas like Who Kissed Who This Week? Or first world problems like the shop selling the wrong flavoured water. These things are banal and shallow and don't create a story worth reading or a reality worth talking about. Avoid these as themes. On the other hand, don't go over the top, like how many Fast and Furious films there are. Very few of you have experienced an impending nuclear holocaust or a global catastrophe or an intergalactic war. So don't use this as a setting. Write about what you know. An ordinary life has all the excitement you need to draw on. Try not to end on a cliffhanger. It's a legitimate ending, but unless it's very carefully planned and skillfully executed, it can look as if you've just run out of time and stopped. Plan an ending and take the story all the way to the end. The one I didn't mention there was overextending. That means don't put in multiple characters, multiple settings. Don't overextend. Keep it simple. Boil it down to the very basics. Don't overextend yourself by creating an intricate world which you have to then explain and draw word pictures for. Keep it in this world so that you know where you're going, they know where you're going. In conclusion, I hope this video has given you some idea of what to expect, what to do, and what to avoid in the creative writing element of the exam. It only remains for me to wish you good luck and suggest that you have a look at the GCSE playlist on this channel for other important and useful tips on passing your GCSE exam. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If so, please remember to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.